Welcome to the show. This is No Interference. We are your hosts, Westside, Big Sass, and the Bull. Week 5 of the NFL season is in the books, and Week 6 is about to kick off with the Commanders versus the Bears. But we're going to break down some of the action that happened this past week. First of all, I guess we can talk about Devante Adams and the little situation he's got himself into.
Throw him in the cage, lock the keys away. Nothing else. Move on.
That's assault.
Lock him in a cage and throw the keys away.
Is that what I said?
You said throw him in a cage and lock the keys away.
Either one, same difference. No,
guilty.
I've seen a little bit of everything regarding this story. My thing is, I can't say definitely, but I feel fairly confident in saying that he, in frustration, shoved a guy to the ground.
He admitted to doing that.
Supposedly, the guy got injuries. I assume a hospital can confirm or deny it. And if he did suffer injuries from being pushed, there's consequences. And that's how I feel about it.
He's chasing that bag.
Yeah, at first, when I saw it live, I have it. It's looping continuously in front of my face right now, and the guy looks like he didn't try at all to save his fall at all, or when you get pushed backwards, what do? You kind of stumble with your feet as you're going backwards.
He got yeeted by a professional athlete.
He's carrying a lot of equipment.
That's what that's fair. But it looks like he stepped backwards 2 or 3 times, and then he just went timber, straight backwards like an 80-year-old man would.
He's like,
now he is holding equipment, and maybe he doesn't want to break equipment. I don't know if he works directly for the NFL. It doesn't look like it. I don't know how that works. Does he work for the Commanders or the Chiefs? Sorry. Or the Raiders, maybe. Maybe he works for Devante Adams, and this is all a setup.
It's all ploy.
But yeah,
make himself look bad.
I don't know. You can't do that as an athlete. You can't just walk up to people in real life and push them out on the street. I can't leave work when I'm frustrated and just push somebody over who's walking. And I'm a pretty big guy. I could do that to the normal person if they're not paying attention.
What I do?
But Ian Rappaport tweeted that he had been charged with a city ordinance violation, which is a little lower than a state misdemeanor assault charge per the prosecutor's office. And that carries out a fine of $250 to $1,000 or up to 180s in jail or both. So
you go lock him up?
Obviously the 180 days in jail would suck.
Honestly, I think he's just lucky that the guy didn't get up and crack him in the knee with his camera equipment.
That would have been worst case scenario.
And they both would have been charged.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the NFL might suspend. Do you think when things like the NFL and the real law, they have to talk about these things when they happen? So I'm sure they're like, don't put him in jail, but we'll suspend him for a game, which is going to cost him a lot more than a $1,000 fine. So I feel like that's probably what'll end up happening. And then I don't know if the guy can sue him, maybe if he really had whiplash, like he said. So
the NFL does like to make examples out of people.
I just think at the end of the day, you're a grown adult. You should know to keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah. So it's not a big deal, but it's what do we think? It's like a move on situation. Don't do it ever again. You're a professional.
Yes.
And take your punishment.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Thanks to
suspend him for the rest of the year.
Team.
He's out for the rest of the year.
He needs to go to prison. He needs to go to jail for life. Or suspended indefinitely. It's the only thing.
Bunch of blasphemous
bullcrap would be okay in my books.
All right. Well, to I won't say more serious matter, but maybe more concerning regarding football fans, are roughing the passer penalties getting out of hand?
Yes. Especially that one against Tom Brady in the Falcons game. It was ridiculous. It was a regular old sack, bring him to the ground.
What about the one in the Commanders game?
I couldn't watch the game.
Jeffrey Simmons kind of like bopped Wentz in the head, and they're like,
he touched the helmet.
It was like he was getting blocked and kind of just reached out and kind of tapped him.
He's reaching for the stars, get burned.
Yeah, I'm torn on these roughing the passers because NFL rules are written the way they're written is it's a law, and it's very
specific.
Specific. If this happens, it is a penalty. So it takes the human element out of it, and the refs are supposed to enforce the rules, not be. I mean, I think they should account for the eye test, and I'm sure some of them do, but the explanation, the one ref, I can't remember who was the ref for the Chiefs game, explain why he called the penalty on Chris Jones. And if you look at the rule book, you're like, okay, it kind of makes sense. But then when you're watching because he tackled him, he landed on him, but he definitely tried to brace his fall, and he didn't really drive him to the ground. So I don't know.
This is where I got I was like, I don't see what they're because they were like, the fact that he stripped and recovered the football doesn't matter. And I'm like, if in the process of sacking someone you pull the football and you're securing the football, am I supposed to let go of the football to brace myself?
So I agree with you, but the argument there, I think, is the quarterback. The rule isn't for, because if the quarterback throws the ball and he no longer has the ball, you still can get called for a penalty if the same thing would happen after he threw it.
But I'm not saying that Derek Carr didn't have the ball, so it shouldn't matter. I'm just saying that Chris Jones had the ball, and when you are holding a football and you're falling on top of a grown man, it's hard to real exaggeratively brace yourself so you don't.
Well, the other thing too with that is nobody knew that happened until the replay.
You didn't see it live?
I didn't see the play, to be honest, live.
Oh, you have an eye for that stuff. You usually see it right away.
I don't know if I wasn't in the room or whatever, because I was watching the game, but I didn't see that play live. I saw the replays, and I immediately saw that front replay where the ball was out, because I think you texted us about it too. But maybe the refs stand behind him. That was the angle from where you can't see through a 280-pound man. Well, but I do agree with you though. That's where replay might have to come in.
Here's where I think we're getting into impossible, dangerous territory. Because I think I saw about 5 or 6 retired players say, well, at this point, I'm lighting those quarterbacks up and I'm taking that penalty, but I'm lighting them up. You're going to call roughing the passer? When we play basketball and people call tic-tac fouls and we're like, all right, I'm going to really foul you then?
Yeah.
If you're gonna call a soft roughing the passer, I am running through this quarterback's face.
Well, that's not gonna do anything though.
Take out quarterbacks.
Well, yeah, but then you're just gonna get fined, or those guys who.
There's a limit to roughing the passer. It's not roughing the passer is not a unnecessary roughness. It's roughing the passer. I don't know if there's fines for getting roughing the passer.
Yeah, but it's also not the quarterback's fault.
Yeah, that's why I said the refs are going to put us in this dangerous territory.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue, to be honest, is I just think the rules need to be amended a little bit, reworded, maybe add in. I know people don't like the process of slowing down the game. And last year or 2 years ago where they did the you can challenge and replay pass interference calls,
and that failed.
Yeah, but that was where the coach could challenge it. Maybe, I don't know, it's tough because that didn't work. So I mean, how could you implement roughing the passer calls?
How many times do quarterbacks get hurt when they get sacked in the pocket?
More often than when they're running.
Aaron Rodgers got hurt when he was running. Lamar got hurt when he was running. Not running downfield, but just running to the outside.
I think the statistic is, though, that they get hurt more often in the pocket than out of the pocket.
Well, if you play for
Serious
Washington,
injuries.
but other than that,
huh?
If you play for Washington, but
I wasn't going to be bringing up no Joe Theismann injuries.
well, also Alex Smith.
Yeah, well, that one's fresh.
It's the exact same yard line, exact same down. It was like the 20-year anniversary, 30-year anniversary.
This is what this. I meant to mention this. The Perry Fuel. I don't know. He's the NFL Senior Vice President of Officiating Administration. He said the Kansas City defender executes his pass rush plan in his effort to sack the quarterback. He lands with his full body weight on the drive to the ground. A quarterback in the pocket in a passing posture gets full protection until he can defend himself. This was probably called foul for roughing the passer. I don't agree with the first part of that because I don't think he was driving him into the ground or landing on him with his full body weight because you can see him try to catch his
My
weight.
thing is, like, honestly, with these rules, like, people are saying as a joke that the quarterbacks should just have a flag, but we're literally getting to that point.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I don't know. It's tough because the owners want to protect their biggest investment, sure, and the quarterback is the outside of a receiver getting thrown into a, what do they call it, hospital route or catch or something.
Yeah, hospital throw.
Yeah, outside of that, quarterbacks are one of the, if not the most defensive players on the field, around the biggest players on the field. So I get you want to protect your investment, and that's why these rules are in place so the quarterback can't get demolished back there. But there's got to be, the NFL has to figure out some kind of middle ground to make it fair for the teams and players, and the quarterbacks aren't getting ripped in half.
I just think it's a violent game. You should just let it be. What if the NBA said you can't block shots anymore? You just got to hope they miss.
That's just, you can't compare that.
I think
I think
it's a valid comparison.
I would say a more
that's like if the MLB
would be if the
that's like if the MLB said that pitchers can't throw outside of the strike zone.
I think that would be more along the lines of, in the NBA you're allowed to fully contest a shooter and impede their space, and in the MLB you're allowed to fully slide into a base player. I don't know MLB as much, so that sounded really unprofessional, but
slap the bass.
I don't know. I just like the Tom Brady one was ridiculous because they're like he unnecessarily slung him down.
That was a bad one. That one was really bad.
In the process of making a tackle, Tom Brady is trying to break through. Like that
was horrible.
Like, and at the same time, if you tackle him up top and you fall on him, that's a penalty. If you grab them and you sling them down, that's a penalty. If you tackle them too low, that's a penalty. If you hit their helmet, that's a penalty.
I think the Chris Jones one is more of an issue of the rule itself rather than officiating. I think the Tom Brady one was an officiating rule error.
Well, it was Jerome
problem.
Boger.
Because and there's no other way that the Falcons defender,
Grady Jarrett.
Yeah, Grady Jarrett. He's 300 pounds. He was running at Tom Brady to tackle him around the waist, chest area. Tom Brady stepped up, so he grabbed him, and then his momentum took him that way. And that was all natural. And Tom Brady barely even hit the ground that hard. I think that some people were saying that was a result from Tua's hit, because that was the same hit that knocked Tua out. But you can't take that. It's got to be case by case. But that was a bad call anyways. But it is a problem. I think we can all agree on
I'm
that.
just saying, I completely agree with some of the takes where they're like, hey, if
do you think that they should like lighten up the rules a lot? Or do you think they like I feel like I'm more in the position of where they need to reword the rules. Do you think they need to lighten up the rules and like get rid of some of them?
you know what I would like, what would make this so much easier for me is if I want literally serious consequences for the referee crews.
Yeah, but then that goes right back into what I was just saying. You can't I don't think you can punish the crew from the Chiefs game because I feel like that was a really hard judgment call.
But I think you could for sure do the one for
the Patriots game.
Or what about the
Agreed.
in the Rams Saints playoff game where the Saints receiver literally got decapitated before the ball even was like 15 feet near him.
The playoffs?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago.
That's where the rule came in.
Yeah, I mean, they do get punished by not being able to ref certain games in the playoffs and Super Bowl.
Well,
but
if you go down to go down the rabbit hole, there's a lot of discussions about how the NFL rigs it to get the refs they want to ref the playoff games in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, all sports, it seems like. I still think, I don't know. It's a tough one. Tough conversation.
Hey, well, listen, how about maybe we'll put up like a poll on Twitter or something, and be like, I don't know, something regarding the roughing the passer calls.
Yeah, after all that, I do think we agree. I don't think it's going to happen or it's in the best interest to just let it be, to go backwards as far as like what they're going to allow with hitting quarterbacks and stuff. I just don't think that's going to happen.
We'll see. Maybe once Tom Brady's gone.
Well, they said there's talks about talking about the rules in the offseason.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well,
NFL to mull roughing the passer penalties after season.
Moving on. Last show we discussed coaches that were on the hot seat, and things are getting a little warm.
Hot.
Well, the Panthers officially move on from Matt Rhule.
Matt Rhule.
They wanted him out so quick that they gave him the $40 million and said hit the road.
Hit the road.
I didn't. They gave him the rest of his contract.
It's fully guaranteed, but there are some teams that, like in the past, will just deal with it because they don't want to pay out that much money.
I didn't know his contract was fully guaranteed.
All coaches' contracts are fully guaranteed. Which is why a lot of players are upset.
I feel like I must have forgotten that.
He got a 7-year, $9 million a year contract.
Yeah, I remember the contract was ridiculous, and I guess I can't remember who I saw talking about it, but they were like, he was at Baylor, and who was he at before Baylor? He was like a program builder, and they kind of just gave him the keys to the car right away, which,
he's a bum.
That's kind of tough to do from a college to NFL coach, and I don't think he had any NFL experience, did he?
Not a lot, if any.
Yeah. But, I mean, we talked about him being on the hot seat, and, that was week 4, right? And then they went out and against San Francisco at home and lost 15-37. Baker Mayfield got injured in that game too, I think.
But they just don't look good. And like, okay, I give you McCaffrey's been hurt a lot, so that hurts. But then you're bouncing around to all these quarterbacks, trade for Sam Darnold, trade for Baker, and this year, like, the play calling just hasn't looked right, and the defense. You have a lot of good players on defense. You got Shaq Thompson, Brian Burns, Jace Horn, Dante Jackson, Derek Brown's finally playing up to his contract. Corey Littleton's okay. I always pronounce his name wrong. Their one defensive end, Gross Matos or whatever, and it just looks like to me from when I watch the games that like the defense is just like, well, this offense is hot garbage, so we're gonna lose regardless. And I think he just lost the team.
Yeah, I don't want to be judgmental, but also there's video. Just I saw some clips of him on the sideline. He just doesn't look like a leader.
He looks disinterested a lot.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a quirky, weird kind of dude. I don't know him. I've literally saw 30-second clip of him. And I mean, it does matter if you can be a leader of men in the NFL. Like, I feel like, Bill Belichick's obviously kind of a weird guy. I think a lot of head coaches are they're football nerds. You have to be. But you also got to be able to command respect. And I mean, just having so many losing seasons that they did with him. And I don't know, that just a gut feeling that he probably didn't have the full, like, rah kind of, like, not saying his players didn't respect him, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lack of, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Respect.
Enthusiasm from the players,
I can see it. Yeah, he went 11
there's a lack of inspiration.
Yes. Yeah.
So now that he's gone and the Panthers are kind of a ship without a sail, what were you saying?
Go ahead with your question. I want to see what you're saying first.
I was just going to say, what do they do?
Okay. So mine was not about the Panthers, but about coach. So we can finish that.
They have, what the? Don't know what that was. I just get dragged away. They have a lot of pieces. They
hired the defensive backs coach, right?
Steve Wilkes.
Yes.
Which he was the Cardinals coach for 1 year before they dumped him for Kingsbury, right?
I believe so. Yes.
2018, yeah.
So
defensive assistant.
So the Panthers got they got Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, McCaffrey. You fetch some nice draft capital for him. I mean, I wouldn't trade Jace Horn, Dante Jackson,
JC Horn. Yeah.
I've seen reports that
Jeremy Chin, Shaq Thompson.
Shaq Thompson's beast.
I mean, do you kind of pull like a Cowboys and you just try and hoard draft picks and rebuild real fast, or you just take
it as it comes?
Yeah,
I think they have enough talent to where if they can get the right coach and the right hire, Baker Mayfield's a free agent after this year, right?
Yes.
I don't know who's off the top of my head. I should have thought about this before I brought up this point, but if they could sign a free agent quarterback, because they have the talent, they have enough talent, I think, to where if they have I think they would be in a lot better of a situation and outlook into the future if they were able to sign Deshaun Watson like they tried,
or Stafford 2 years ago.
Yeah. And, that's just what happens sometimes. They missed out on both of those. I mean, look back when Peyton Manning was a free agent. Well, he was like really close to signing with the Titans, and he went with the Broncos. Like, those things changed the outlook on the team.
Titans weren't good then anyway.
So I think they should I don't know. Apparently they're shopping Christian McCaffrey, maybe potentially, and then Brian Burns. I've heard his name.
If they send McCaffrey to the Bills,
I'd heard that. That's scary.
Yeah,
there was a report that they were, then there was a report that it was made up, and then there was another report that came out, and they were like, no, the Bills have called them about him. But listen, I mean, if I were the Panthers, McCaffrey I'd try and dump for the right price. Robbie Anderson gone, but DJ Moore I'm keeping, Brian Burns I'm keeping, Jace Horn I'm keeping, Jeremy Chin I'm keeping, Derek Brown I'm keeping. But
yeah, the core.
But anything else you can do to get more draft capital, you definitely got to do it, because I think Matt Rhule was their like de facto GM. He was going after Darnold and now Baker and some other bad moves. He's really depleted their shelves with their picks the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, they should be able to get a first for Christian McCaffrey, right?
Yeah, at least a first.
So, I don't know. I mean, they have one win right now. They have the Rams. They're probably going to lose, even though the Rams look rough. Then they have Tampa Bay. That's a loss. Atlanta, who knows? Probably a loss. Cincinnati, Falcons again, Ravens, Denver, Seattle, Steelers, Detroit, Tampa, Saints. I mean, I could see them maybe winning 2 or 3 more games. So they could end up with do they have a first round pick this year?
I believe so.
So they could end up with the top 2 pick, and you got Bryce Young and
they have Ike Ekwonu too. Left tackle.
Yeah. And then is that the one they just drafted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't he I think PFF had him rated as like
he was
top
tackle.
Rookie tackle or top tackle.
He's like the highest. He has like a 90 run block score for the year.
Which I think when we did a profile on him, we talked about how he's probably going to be a mean run blocker, didn't we?
Yeah.
Aggressive.
He still needs to work on his pass protection, but run blocking, he's legit.
Yeah. I think the best probably outcome for them is they suck the rest of this year, get the first overall pick or the second, get one of those 2 quarterbacks. I can't remember the Ohio State quarterback's name.
Stroud. CJ
Stroud. Yes, CJ Stroud. Get one of those 2. Obviously, that's not, for sure. Never is. But they still have enough young players that you both just listed to maybe get a quick turnaround. It's possible. We've seen it. It's not impossible.
Put the team in the right hands, and they can be okay.
Yep.
Just Rhule is not the guy.
Yep. Were you going to bring up any more hot seat coaches? I was going to bring up one question.
Go ahead, shoot.
To our resident Commanders fan.
Oh, Rivera, yeah, I think he's got to go.
Do you think there's any chance Rivera gets fired in season if you guys don't win tonight and like maybe lose another game? Or do you think that's no way?
Less likely than likely. But I think anything's possible. But they already made comment on they're not going to rush to fire him.
Okay,
I think he lost. I think he may have lost the locker room with his quarterback comment.
I think he came out and
that was all cleared up.
Amended that.
Is it cleared up?
I mean, who knows? But I think he has enough. I think he made a.
If someone was like, "Man, our bar sucks because RJ sucks at bartending," and then like next day he's like, "Man, I was just joking. Blah blah. Blah, we're good."
I mean, he didn't say Wentz sucks. He said it was a weird answer.
Okay.
I thought.
What about this? If like a manager at a restaurant is like,
what makes these? Why are the other bars better than yours?
Bartenders.
I mean, it's true though. It's not like it's not true.
That's what I'm saying.
Wentz is top 5 in pass yards and passing touchdowns, and the Commanders have arguably the worst O-line in the league.
Yeah, but he hasn't been able to do anything with those numbers. Those numbers are like those hidden numbers we talked about before.
Hidden numbers are him. I'm pretty sure he's like top 3 pressured quarterback in the league.
He also has like 6 interceptions on the year already.
But the pressure rate.
He's not playing that well, but I don't think Ron Rivera.
I don't think he's playing horrible, but the timing of the he had 1 interception in that game. It happened to be the worst time.
If I was in his place, and they're like, how come the Giants and the Cowboys and the Eagles are doing so good? I would be like, O-line.
Well, the Giants have Saquon Barkley and their defense is playing well. The Cowboys' defense is number one in the league. The Eagles have best of both worlds at the moment. True challenge coming up this Sunday, though. And for us, it's because we can't get anything going on offense, and especially in the first half.
I think this is going to be, depending on how this game goes in the game plan, not to transition out of the coach, but if you guys, like we posted on our account, if Brian Robinson comes out, gets 20 to 25 carries, over 100 yards, you guys control the clock, Wentz doesn't have to throw the ball 40 times, and you guys aren't coming from behind. Wentz gets a cool downs. 20 for 30 night, 20 for 28 night, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's right. Defense plays well. It's a recipe to turn the season around if Brian Robinson's that guy.
And if Chase Young comes back.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting he's not back yet.
Montez Sweat really turned it up last week, but they was going against a backup left tackle, obviously, because Taylor Lewan's out. We got 5 sacks last week. That was the most sacks we've had since 2020 in the game.
Man, our O-line might be the only O-line worse than yours.
Possibly. Our O-line actually started off strong until the injuries started kicking.
Same.
As soon as that bug started biting, it was over.
Well, we'll see. That game's coming up, though this show will be out after it, but whatever. We'll see what happens. Moving into the actual games from last week, I'm just going to, I'm running the show. I can pick what I want to talk about. Cowboys Rams. That was an embarrassment. We even said the Rams can't come out there and lose to the Cowboys, and that was
atrocious.
About as bad as you can get. The Cowboys win 22-10. Cooper Rush literally completes 10 passes for 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Pollard had a solid game. But the Cowboys offensively didn't do too much. But the Rams just...
Severed at 308 yards, too. They still
can't run the ball. Can't protect.
Cooper
the Rams average... we kind of just went over how bad the Cowboys were offensively. The Rams averaged 5 yards per play. The Cowboys averaged 4.5. The Rams only got 14 first downs. They were 6 of 17 on third down. They allowed 5 sacks. They had 2 lost fumbles. And the time of possession was just split. And it's just... I don't want to admit this, but did Sean McVay get outcoached by Mike McCarthy? Did that really happen?
No, we got outcoached by Dan Quinn.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think Dan Quinn's probably going to be a head coach next year.
Again?
For the Cowboys.
Maybe.
So McCarthy out, Quinn you out.
I mean,
fuck it up.
Listen.
I brought you in here.
It was a minute and a half into the game. Stafford got sacked, and DeMarcus Lawrence returned for a touchdown. So right off the bat, it was 6-0.
Setting the tune.
The Cowboys got a field goal, 9-0. I guess I missed the extra point on that fumble recovery. And then the Rams scored a field goal. Then the Rams got that 75-yard touchdown, which was a sweet play by Cooper Kupp with a one-handed catch, and then burned Diggs and the rest of the team.
Pow, pow.
But after that, it was Tony Pollard, 57-yard touchdown, field goal for the Cowboys. I mean, the Rams' only play all day was that play, and it was a perfect throw and catch because Diggs was on him, but he just had just enough space to catch it with one hand and then turn upfield, and everybody, it was just the right angle for a great player to make a great play. The Rams just don't look good.
It's literally...
The run game is an issue, I think. Cam Akers and
They just
Henderson
don't.
have been uninspiring,
It just
and so
doesn't
has
look.
their O-line.
It doesn't look like a Sean McVay offense. Like, I'm not seeing all the wide receiver motions. I'm not seeing them moving the pocket.
They
They're
didn't
not
do that
getting.
last year, though. They got away with
It was. It was.
from
But
moving the pocket once Jared
I
Goff was
think.
gone.
But I think it was like maybe 50-50 last year. Now it's like it just doesn't. It
Yeah,
doesn't look like Sean McVay offense at all. It looks like Stafford's gonna drop back and throw the ball up to Cooper Kupp.
yeah, and Allen Robinson's been one of the biggest disappointments for fantasy owners.
Well, that was another
Last
thing.
2 years.
A reporter was like talking to McVay, and they're like, "What's up with Allen Robinson not really getting any production?" They're like, "That's just the way the defense is playing him." And I'm just like, "You're meaning to tell me that the defense is taking Allen Robinson away and letting you throw the ball to Cooper Kupp?" Like, that was just a dumb response.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with that. Yeah, I was trying to. When did they get OBJ last year?
Week like, yeah.
7 or 8.
It was like right before the trade deadline.
Yeah, it was right when Woods.
I
I was trying to
ACL.
see if
Go
there's
back
some
to.
kind of correlation between like he was so helpful to that team, but they were 7-1 by the time they got him, anyways.
He was productive though. He scored like 7 touchdowns in 8 games.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't want to say. I was trying to say maybe that hurt them more than they thought. And Allen Robinson isn't that great. But I mean, they were playing well before they got OBJ.
He scored a Super Bowl too.
Yeah. Sony Michel was also a good 1-2 punch with Henderson because they didn't have Akers most of last year.
Injury. Yeah.
I'm trying to find. I don't have the stats for their offensive line. Give me a second.
Well, they can't really run block, and they're not protecting Stafford, so just by the eyeball test, that tells you all you need to know. And then the defense is just—they just have. I'm sorry, but Stafford, his whole career, he's a stat guy. He's a stat guy. He's a stat guy. Gets a Super Bowl. Now he's not playing well. Aaron Donald, he's done everything you can possibly do as a defensive player besides win a Super Bowl. Gets Super Bowl, wants to retire, comes back. He's getting numbers still, but he's not like Aaron Donald. And then Jalen Ramsey, I've never been a Jalen Ramsey fan, but he seems like he's getting exposed every other week.
He did shut down somebody 2 weeks ago, I think. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah. Yeah, their pass blocking is not good. They've given up 21 sacks. Going off of PFF, the only lineman that is graded well, and it's not even amazing, is their center, Shelton Coleman. And then after that, it's just garbage.
Garbage.
Yeah. Noteboom. Is that how you say the tackle's name? Joseph Noteboom. He's allowed 5 sacks, 8 hits, 10 hurries, 23 pressures.
Ugh.
Yeah. Their other tackle, Rob Havenstein. He's allowed 3 sacks, 2 hits, 11 hurries, 16 pressures. So, I mean, their tackles are playing poorly. Their guard, Alaric Jackson, he might be hurt, but he's allowed 10 hurries and 11 pressures, so that's right up your face. So, I don't know.
No bueno.
Not at all.
They got things to fix. They're having a Super Bowl hangover, and we thought it was a possibility.
It's dumpster fire, really.
Yep.
They did 2 things. They lost, and they made the Cowboys look good.
Yep.
It's unforgivable.
Yeah, I think the Dallas defense is good, but we'll see what the real deal is come Sunday.
All right. Well, I picked a game I wanted to talk about. What about y'all?
I mean, I thought the most entertaining game of the week by far was the Raiders-Chiefs Monday night game. We didn't really touch on that at all. Josh McDaniels going for 2 at the end of the game instead of the extra point to tie it 30-30. Travis Kelce scored 4 touchdowns.
Off of 25 receiving yards.
Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, their new podcast. Do you know what it's called off the top of your head? Either of you?
I didn't know they were doing one.
No, I watch it, but I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember what it's called either, but they do it every Wednesday, and Jason Kelce said it was the most selfish game anyone's ever played because Travis Kelce had 4 touchdowns. He's like, you didn't do any work to get to the end zone.
He just red zone catches.
Yeah, and then Devante Adams had, 2 bombs for touchdowns.
It's
Josh Jacobs.
New Heights.
Okay.
Josh Jacobs scored his highest in fantasy.
Yeah,
I think 30 points, fantasy points.
Yep. And then the 4th down play to end the game, Devante Adams' catch on 3rd and 1 got called back. It was a sweet catch on the sideline, turned out not to be a catch. And then
honestly,
rather than on 3rd and 1,
had that.
Yeah, he should have. And then, but on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, you decide to throw the ball down the field instead of running Josh Jacobs, who had been running like a madman all night.
Literally
had his best game of his career, probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have a big chunk every time he touched the ball. He was in open space.
Yeah,
it's the second level.
Yep,
it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And then on the 4th down, Hunter Renfrow and Adams run into each other. So I don't know if that was Devante Adams getting jammed on the line and put him off his spot or miscommunication. Who knows?
Renfrow's lucky he's not the one that got pushed.
Yeah. Oh.
Did get decked though. They decked each other.
Yeah, that was a crazy game because the Raiders got out to a 17-3 lead, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, it just seemed like
17-0 lead.
And you guys can correct me if you disagree. I felt like in the first half, I felt like the Raiders were sending tons of pressure. And then I got that lead, and then they were like, ooh, ease it back now. And that's when Mahomes was just like, all right, you're going to let me sit back and pick you apart? Let's do this.
I'll never get that. Like, why take your foot off the gas? I'll never understand that.
Like, I felt like the Raiders were sending DBs, and they're sending, like, 6-man blitzes and getting Mahomes off his out of a groove and thrown off rhythm. And they came out, and then I felt like it was just then they were just like, okay, let's just back off and just try and preserve this win.
Yeah, I feel like the foot off the gas thing happens a lot against these types of teams that the majority of the league is afraid of. It's their biggest game on the schedule. You mark that one down. And especially against this Chiefs team that's been the most prolific offense in the league for the last few years. You get up to that, cushiony 17-0 lead, and you just want to get the game over. You're like, oh, thank God. But I don't know. The Raiders also had 11 penalties. It's going to be hard to win a game when you have over 10 penalties. I don't know. It's tough. That's a tough one to let slip through your fingers. That fuels the fire for RJ's offseason argument against Josh McDaniels. I think we had the Raiders going to the playoffs, and now they're sitting at 1-4. Could have turned their season around with a win like that. Beat a good team and start a little run.
Especially against the Chiefs in your division. A lot of momentum coming off of that.
Yep. And now they are going to most likely be without Devante Adams, I would think. But they are they're going up against Houston. Then they have the Saints and Jaguars and Colts. So, I mean, there's a possibility to still turn it around. But
did we talk about McDaniel's decision to go for 2 at the end of the game?
I brought it up, but we didn't talk about it.
I don't know, because there's enough time. Like, here's the thing: they weren't really stopping the Chiefs, and there was enough time left where I feel like you kick the extra point, you tie the game, and you just make sure that they haven't their kicking game has been off. So I'm just like, all right, play for OT. And then get the ball back and let Josh Jacobs do his thing. You go for 2, you don't get it, which really screws you. But even if they got it, you're forcing the Chiefs' hand and Andy Reid's hand, and they're going to be like, okay, we are going to go for, it's 4 down territory, and we're going to more than likely get in range or score a touchdown to win the game. I just feel like sometimes the analytics is just maybe they need to chill out with that.
It would have made a lot more sense to me if there wasn't, like you just said, there's 4.5 minutes left when they scored the touchdown. They ended up stopping the Chiefs. They got the ball back, and then they didn't get it on the 4th and 1. But if you kick the extra point, it's 30-30. There's still so much time left on the clock for the Chiefs to get at least a field goal, whether you're up by 1 or not with that 2-point conversion. And there was no evidence to say your defense was going to stop them because they hadn't stopped Travis Kelce in the second half, or their offense at all.
Yeah, that whole let's play man coverage on Travis Kelce in the red zone thing all game long.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yep. Second week in a row, a coach has made a questionable call in the end zone that potentially cost his team the game. So,
Chalk, this one was a horrible decision. It wasn't questionable. Stupid. Straight up stupid.
That's a Josh McDaniels, he's always kind of seemed like an arrogant coach. Maybe he was just going for it. Maybe the analytics said, maybe somebody sent him down, they printed off their paper from a supercomputer and it said, you have a 99% chance of winning the game if you get this. He's like, go! But I doubt it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Those analytics will get you.
Just that's really just a gut punch game where you're the Raiders, you get to 17-0 and you end up losing 30-29.
Mm-hmm.
RJ, you got a game that caught your attention?
Yeah, the Patriots-Lions game. Patriots defense shutting down the number 1 offense in the NFL in the current times. This high scoring offense.
Ramondre Stevenson, what did he rush for? Like a $150?
$175.
I just had it up.
Ooh.
Yeah, $175. The defense, though, I mean, they have it written down here. They had 2 sacks, interception. I think one was a pick 6, fumble recovery, and 0 points allowed. It's a solid week. If you're the Patriots defensive fantasy, good for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying the Lions. We knew the Lions defense was trash, so their points per game actually got better, only allowing 29. But if you look at the Lions offense, 4 for 12 on 3rd down, 0 for 6 on 4th down. They only allowed 2 sacks, but they had 7 penalties for 80 yards, 1 interception, 1 fumble. The time of possession wasn't ridiculous, but Jared Goff, he's 19 for 35 for 229. That's not super efficient. They were without what's his name? The running back.
DeAndre Swift.
They're out without DeAndre Swift, and then Jamal Williams gives you a 15 for 50 game. And then they didn't have they did have Amon-Ra St. Brown and then TJ Hawkinson, who just came off amazing game. And in typical Patriots fashion, TJ Hawkinson, 1 catch for 6 yards. Mm-hmm. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 for 18.
Josh Reynolds at 6 for 92.
Yeah, but Bill Belichick says we're going to take away your best players and then see if your not best players can beat us, and they goose-egged them.
Jacoby Myers just came back from injury too. Had a solid game, 7 yards, 7 receptions for 111 yards and a TD.
Yeah, Patriots.
Billy Zapp
Yeah,
looking decent.
he came out, had a good game. The only interception wasn't his fault. Hit Nelson Aguilar in the hands. The rookie corner for the Patriots, Jack Jones, has looked good the last 2 games.
Yeah, makes that J.C. Jackson exit not look as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been playing really well.
Well,
the
that
Patriots
fumble they had on Jared Goff was the
been
first drive of the game. I think returned that for a touchdown. So
cornerback whispers. All right. Well, just for the sake of time, and you guys are just gonna have to go with me. We're gonna go rapid fire. I'm gonna say a game, and you tell me what you felt like was the biggest thing you got from the game. Ravens beat the Bengals 19-17.
The Bengals offense is not as good as it was last year, and teams are figuring them out.
Yeah. I feel like the Bengals O-line is just as bad. They're just costing more money, and teams are literally saying throw the ball.
Long drives.
They're saying throw the ball downfield, but we're going to be sitting back waiting, and if you get it, you get it. If not, it's going to be a long day for you.
And you better trust in Justin Tucker because he did do whatever the hell he wants, whenever he wants.
Yeah, we talked about it when Justin Tucker kicked his first field goal and kind of looked to the Ravens sideline. I felt like he was saying, "Hey, hardball, I'm the best kicker in NFL history. Why don't you start using me more?" Enough of that. Eagles beat the Cardinals 20-17.
Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray are they got problems.
They got problems.
They got some problems.
The end of the game situation was terrible.
Sliding short of the sticks and spiking the ball.
Was horrible.
Yeah, there's communication errors there. That's coach's fault. That's player's fault. I think Kyler Murray, watching the game live, I thought he looked arrogant and annoying. That was my biggest takeaway, and the Eagles pulled off a tough
Zach
win.
Ertz hates his guts.
Yeah, I feel like that team is falling apart. It was a close game. It's the closest game the Eagles have had. But yeah, Kingsbury's hot seat, Kyler Murray. They're probably already having second thoughts about that contract. Hopefully the new Call of Duty is not good, but we'll see. Next game, the Texans beat the Jaguars 13-9. Jaguars were the darling of the NFL just a few weeks ago, and now everyone's like, well, they're the Jags again.
Well, I got 2 words for you. Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
Freaking, he's definitely the real deal. I think he probably gets shadowed a little bit because he's on a crappy team.
Who had Dameon Pierce as their RB1?
I'm not sure.
This guy.
Oh, yeah.
This guy had him as RB1.
Yeah, I mean, once the Texans decided to actually use the talent they had with Pierce, good things have happened the last several weeks. The Jaguars come back down to earth after starting off 2-1, and Trevor Lawrence has disappointed me.
Yep. Literally, as soon as I started, I've actually never been a Trevor Lawrence fan, but literally as soon as I start saying, hey, this kid might actually have what it takes, and I even picked him in freaking fantasy football, and he turned back into a pumpkin. All right. Last game we're going to go over. Giants beat the Packers. I can't remember the freaking chicken scratch. Giants beat the Packers in London 27-22. I'll let you go.
So Saquon Barkley is back, and he's doing great things still. Aaron Rodgers needs to get the ball over the goddamn defensive lineman there in that last drive. Looking like Baker Mayfield out there with all those damn swats.
Yeah. Brian Dabble looks like a good head coach. They've figured out a good way to utilize Daniel Jones. I think he has near 250 yards rushing on the year, not making him do too much with his arm and throwing around the field, even bringing in Saquon Barkley. and Wildcat possessions in the red zone. So, what do you do when your quarterback's not the best in certain situations? Put in your best player and don't let him make a mistake. So,
yep, I think it's been proven year in, year out. Play competitive, solid defense and run the ball, and good things happen. I don't know if the Giants are going to be able to keep this up. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but Dable has this team playing with an identity. They're winning games. Giants football maybe coming back. Who knows where next is going to take us? Who knows if Daniel Jones will have a job after this season?
Well, yeah, that's the biggest question.
But they're winning, and it looks good, so we'll see where it goes.
All right, and also they had 7 passes defended on Aaron Rodgers. Can't let that happen.
That's what I was saying.
As a GOAT quarterback.
Well, that does it for the West Side Rapid Fire questionnaire of the week review time moments. All right. Well, let's get to the best part of these shows. We're going to go over our picks of the week.
Picks of the week.
Are we still calling this Who You Got?
It's fluid.
Who you got. Got. All right. Team of the week. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first because we already went through this team in a good amount of depth a minute ago. I picked the New England Patriots. Many of the reasons we've already discussed. They beat the Detroit Lions 29-0. How do you say their rookie quarterback's last name?
Bailey Zapp.
Bailey Zapp.
Bailey
Zapp. His first career start, he won convincingly against the team that came into the week with the I think the number 1 scoring offense.
Number 1 scoring, yep.
He played within himself. He was efficient. His only blemish on his stat sheet was an interception that wasn't even his fault. Damian Harris went out early with a hamstring injury, but Ramondre Stevenson came in, had 25 carries for 161 yards, ran up and down the field all game in Patriots fashion. According to PFF, 113 of those yards came after contact too, so that's even more impressive. And that's exactly the recipe you need to help a rookie quarterback. And then, as RJ highlighted, their defense shut the Lions down. I think it was the first drive of the game. I don't remember if it was the first drive of the game or not, but they fumbled Jared Goff for a touchdown. And I think they were near the red zone, and then they intercepted Jared Goff in the red zone on another play. And that was the rookie Jack Jones, who we just talked about as well. He looks like a good pick and replacement for J.C. Jackson. And they stopped the Lions several times on 4th downs to seal the goose egg. So, impressive win.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Agreed.
My turn?
Go ahead, sir.
I'm going with the Jets.
Jets. Jets.
I know they're playing the Tua-less Dolphins, but still, offense looked good. Tua-less. And technically, Teddy Bridgewater-less as well, because he got knocked out. But it came out to play. Offense looked good. Zach Wilson didn't throw any picks, didn't throw any touchdowns, but he ran a touchdown. Breece Hall had a total of, I think it was 197 yards and a touchdown on 20 total touches, including receiving. 2 receptions for 100 yards. Great to see a rookie pop off like that, especially when he was drafted where he was.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilson seems to be making small steps forward, keeping the turnovers down, using his legs, doing what he has to do. A little rushing touchdown action. Sauce Gardner still showing why he was such a high pick as well. Got his first career interception, but also in single coverage, I saw something today. Quarterbacks have a 17.6 QBR when he's in single coverage against their wide receivers. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's playing as a possible rookie defensive player of the year.
Yeah, looking like they have another Darrelle Revis over there.
Sauce Island.
Maybe.
Sauce Island, yeah. Ain't no dry rub, I'll tell you that.
The Sauce King.
Sauce God. Jets. When the last time we seen the Jets 3-2? Never.
Sanchez.
Yeah,
it's definitely butt fumble.
All right. I'm going to take over. My team of the week is the New York Giants. They go into London, it was a 1-score game, but I think it was a little more convincing than that. Daniel Jones, 21-27 for 200 yards. Saquon Barkley goes 13 for 70 and a touchdown. Jones adds almost another 40 on the ground. And they do some little trickery with their tight ends to get them some rushing touchdowns. Darius Slayton looks like he's finally out of the doghouse because of injuries. He comes on nicely, gives them 6 for about 80 yards. But this team, they got 2 sacks. They forced the Packers to 4 of 10 on third down. Won the time of possession, 32 minutes to 27. Penalties were a little rough, 6 for 63, but they played, I don't want to say safe. I'll say they played smart football. I just see on Twitter that Daniel Jones, apparently his new nickname for London, Danny Quid, was trending, and I thought Danny Dimes couldn't get any worse, but I guess it did. But this team, I said it earlier, they have an identity, they stick to it. Beating an Aaron Rodgers-led team is no easy matter, and they got it done. And they're coming home 3-1. No, yeah, 4-1, right? 4-1. So good for them.
They've looked impressive. See if they can keep it up.
Yeah, short of a second half collapse, we'll see. But moving forward, the next part of our segments are MVP of the week, or MVPs, depending on how you do it.
Sorry, I had my sheet out of order. This was a tough choice for me, and just to switch things up, I'm gonna give my game ball to Austin Eckler. Chargers needed to keep up with the Chiefs in that division. They're playing Cleveland Browns. Both teams were 2-2. Justin Herbert didn't have a lights out game. He only had 228 yards. Only 1 touchdown, which was to Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler also had 16 carries for 173 yards, which is 10 yards per carry, and a touchdown on the ground as well. I think he busted off a 70-yard touchdown. And then the rest of his carries, he was just getting chunk yards. Then he had 4 catches for 26 yards and Justin Herbert's lone touchdown. I believe those were the only 2 touchdowns scored by them. Let me double check that, just make sure I'm not wrong. Austin Eckler, 22-yard rushing touchdown. Austin Eckler catching touchdown. Okay, Josh Kelly also had a touchdown. But either way, Chargers needed to pull off a win to keep up with the Chiefs, and Austin Eckler had his biggest game of the year to keep pace with a Browns team whose opposing running back also was running like a madman in Nick Chubb. So, game of the week, ball of the week, MVP of the week goes to Eckler.
Very good, very good. Das Bull.
I'm giving my MVP to Breece Hall. We just talked about him with being my team of the week.
Jets lover.
20 total touches, 2 receptions for 100 yards, 97 yards on the ground. Just took over the game. One of those catches was for like 70 yards. blown coverage, but still making plays.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a solid rookie running back right there. Gotta watch out.
Yeah,
Looks good.
He had a very good game. He's coming into his own, supplementing Michael Carter a little bit.
Yeah, Michael Carter had 2 touchdowns, so shout out him as well.
Yeah, I benched him. Shows what I know.
Yeah,
all right, my MVP is none other than the man I owe a formal apology to, Josh Jacobs. After I've trashed him pretty much his whole career, he in consecutive weeks sets career highs for yards. He had 21 carries for 154 yards and a touchdown. He also led the Raiders with catches, with 5 catches for 39 yards. He was running with power. He was running with ill intent. He was getting through the line and looking for someone to run over. He's looking for someone to embarrass. I know the Raiders didn't get the win, but Darren Waller went out. So they said, hey, we're going to bring in an extra tackle. We're going to do smash mouth football. And Josh Jacobs, honestly, put the team on his back. I don't think Devante Adams get those 2 friggin' moonshot bombs unless the Chiefs aren't coming up trying to not get put on a truck stick highlight by Josh Jacobs. So I am apologizing for all my past comments. And Josh Jacobs, you are getting the West Side Game Ball of the Week.
It's a good choice. Good choice. It was a running backs week there. All 3 of us.
Yes, indeed.
Indubitably.
All right. Letdown of the week. Letdown.
My letdown of the week was another player we tapped into a little bit already, and that is Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like I mentioned already, they started off the season 2-1. He was having a pretty good season. He had a rough game, and so did the Jaguars against the Eagles. That was a really bad weather game, so I gave him a pass for that. Nonetheless, they lost. So coming into this game against Texans was a good opportunity to rebound against a Houston defense that isn't anything to write home about. They're 22nd in the league in passing yards allowed per game, I believe. Or total yards passing allowed. But Trevor Lawrence came out, was 25 of 47, so threw the ball a ton, didn't have a great completion percentage. He only threw for 6 yards per attempt, and he had 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions for a 54 quarterback rating. All of this while James Robinson didn't have a good game, but Travis Etienne ran the ball decently. I think most of his yards came early in the game. But the Jaguars' offensive line played pretty well. Trevor Lawrence didn't get sacked. I don't think he got pressured or hurried too much. And it was a close-scoring game. They lost 13-6. And Trevor Lawrence had 2 opportunities, I believe, in the fourth quarter to go down and get them scores. And I think he threw an interception on the last play of the game. It may have been a Hail Mary type situation. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he also had another interception in the red zone earlier in the game. In a close scoring game like this with a team you're supposed to be playing down to, or not playing down to, but they're not as talented as your team, you need those points. And as a quarterback on a team where other players performed well, their defense played well, offensive line played well, he just didn't deliver. He wasn't accurate. Didn't do what he needed to do. So he was my letdown.
All right. RJ?
I'm going to give my letdown of the week to Russell Wilson. He's just overall not playing well. Just completely
He's a buster.
wise. He's not been accurate. He's throwing picks. Can't get anything going with the offense when he goes in the red zone. It's just no plays are being made. He ain't the same old Russell Wilson anymore.
He ain't cooking. He's cooked.
Never was the
Very much
same.
so.
Yeah, I mean, with the money he's getting paid and the expectations, it's looking bad. And honestly, he makes it worse with some of his comments and the way he acts. But this isn't a Russell Wilson hate show, so we'll move on. My letdown of the week is the Rams, the whole team. They can't run the ball. They can only throw to Cooper Kupp. They can't protect Matt Stafford. They can't stop the run. They can't necessarily stop the pass. They don't seem to have a lot of fight in them. And I really don't see it turning around. I mean, they've had their method. They got their Super Bowl, so hey, good for them, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing from them this year. So that's my letdown of the week, the Los Angeles Rams.
It's a fair choice indeed. Fair choice.
Very fair choice.
Any last tidbits y'all want to throw out?
This is going to come out after the game, but big game tonight for the Commanders. And I'm looking forward to this Sunday night matchup. I think it's has big implications. Implications?
Yeah.
That sounds wrong in my head. For the NFC with the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys. To distance themselves, or not distance themselves for the Eagles, but
Cooper Rush is going to take the Cowboys to 5-1 and not let go of the starting job.
Jesus. I hope not.
He's the captain now. Yeah, like you said, good game tonight. Commanders versus Bears. I don't hate the Commanders team. They just have some stuff not going right, whereas the whole Bears team just looks like an inept mess. So we'll see. That game's actually getting ready to kick off in about 20 minutes. But this is our Week 5 recap of No Interference. We're your hosts, Westside, Big Sass, The Bull. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We appreciate all the followers. If you like what you heard, like, share, subscribe to the video, drop a comment, follow us on our socials at the NI Show on Twitter and Instagram. And then we go live every Sunday morning, and I do my best to drop some live tweets during the games, keep things interesting. But as usual, we appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to us and support the show. That does it for today, so adios.
See you later.
Peace.
Embarrassing. How embarrassing.